Greetings and salutations, Just Norris here, and we're gathering together for a breakdown for the squad leads on MENACE. We did that way past when MENACE launched initially. In the meantime, it has updated a lot, it has added a few squad leads, it has altered and tweaked how the progression works in their squads, and probably down the line of production it will alter it again and move further and, you know, change some numbers and tweak some stuff here and there. So I will go through all of the 19 in total squad leads, 13 being infantry, 6 being pilots, and exactly tell you what kind of perks I grab in which order and why, and what kind of tactics I use with them, and what kind of equipment I try to put on them in order to beat the game on the highest difficulty, at least from my side. Keep in mind, that is just flavor decisions from my side, how I play them, and how it worked for me to beat the game on the highest difficulty. But, you know, in the end, play how you have most fun with it. I mean, you don't have to go on the highest difficulty, crank everything up and min-max around. You can just have fun and go with the flow, more or less, something like that. But with no further ado, let's explain just a few basics for those who are completely fresh to MENACE, and for those who are not, make sure to, you know, look at the timestamps, jump to the squad lead that you're most interested in, and see my breakdown there in terms of that. We're using the wiki from Hooded Horse for this, for showcasing, because I think it's more compact, more lovely to see, and easier for me to explain you guys a few fundamentals and basic and stats, what's going on there. I will not go into the details of the attributes. You can read up the attributes themselves, what exactly they do and what they increase. I think that's kind of easy to understand and to get behind. What I want to tell you is the kind of like which perks I take when, in what order, and also what kind of equipment I link up with those characters and what kind of tactics I use those squad leads or pilots for. We're starting with infantry, English is hard sometimes, and well, none other than our greatest and the bestest, Jane Darby. Kudos to Hooded Horse for such a wonderful wiki with all the details behind the characters, lore, everything it is that you need to know is there, and you don't even have to log into the game. So the way I use Jane is towards the end with a full squad with silenced weapons, sneaking up there, shooting out a volley, and completely ambushing and destroying a target in one go. Let's break down the perks and see what I'm picking first, and then moving further into sketching out my Darby as we are moving forward. Darby herself has a very high accuracy, so she's definitely a kind of guaranteed shot. If you have a good line of sight and a good weapon with her, you are nailing those shots. The only downside with her is that she is very costly in terms of action points to place on the field, and also very costly when you fill up her squad with squaddies. So what I tend to do at the beginning is to kind of mitigate the numbers of squaddies there, make her more accessible so I can fill up the ranks of the other groups that I'm running with, and run her somewhat of a reconnaissance unit at the beginning. So kind of like trying to make her into reconnaissance camouflage situations so I can see the enemy before they see me and maneuver with the other units accordingly. So let's break it down in terms of the perks that I'm picking first. First, I'm grabbing, of course, her high-value targets. Attacks disable enemy special weapons for 1 turn. Comes very clutch when it is MG troops, when you have mortars, when you have anti-vehicle units, you name it, whatever special weapon they have on them, you can disable it with her and the squaddies. Meaning you can bring it to the front line if she's concealed enough, take out high priority targets that are potential doing high damage to your units, and disabling, for example, a mortar for a turn, because the high value target is a fantastic ability on her, trying to CC and manipulate the battlefield. Followed up, of course, I'm taking scouts. That increases her detection and view range, so I can see the enemy earlier before they start seeing me. After scout, we of course grab covert ops. I don't know what's going on today with my English, so please bear in mind with me. I might mumble and jumble here and there. Next up, we're grabbing covert ops to lower her concealment, aka increase her concealment, so she cannot be seen as easily by your enemy. High value targets, scouts, covert ops. These are the line I'm going for on the very early with Darby. Jane Darby is one of my favorite characters. She's very versatile in terms of reconnaissance, taking out complete units with one squad volley, and also just overall a great shot. Darby has the special ability High Value Targets, where she's attacking, where her attacks disable enemy special weapons for 1 turn. That is such a powerful CC. If you manage to build up enough concealment with her, put her into the front lines, flank lines, wherever you want to position her. English is hard sometimes today. And you can take out mortars, you can take out all kinds of high-value targets that could potentially deal a lot of damage to you, but with her taking a chance of volley at that target, disabling it for 1 turn, and giving you at least a turn of reaction before they can act. Here's what I personally went for when I was playing with Darby in terms of ranking her up and skilling her up. First, I grabbed Covert Ops. That means that I can move further to the front line before they start seeing me with my increased concealment, giving me also more view of range, and also letting me position myself better before I can start my first volley at the enemy. Followed up by Scout, of course, because that kind of like pairs up with each other very good. Being in the front, concealed, also seen further, and also having a better detection rate, giving overall a very good view to your squaddies and members. And that's the point already where I'm starting to put in more and more squaddies into a group, because from covert operations and scouts, I'm going straight into ambush, where her damage is so much increased when she's attacking from concealment. So you want that one volley that she's sending out there before she breaks concealment to be powerful, to be in number, because that ultimately could very likely lead to a complete unit vibe that she's doing. So whatever she's targeting, she's shooting a salvo out with her group. They are destroying the target and putting her back into concealment. And you can like then start to rinse and repeat. Then of course Vanguard, to have increased deployment zone. I want her to be in the front as far and as fast as possible to kind of like highlight me the map where enemies are, helping me scout out the positions, and also start nailing down those enemies with Hail Mary fires that she's doing. She's fantastic. Followed up, we're going for sharpshooters. So I have the 50% decrease enemy cover bonus whenever they're hunkering behind buildings, cars, you name it. Her shots definitely hit. Sharpshooter helps me to get those guaranteed hits. I mean, guarantees not, but to get those high percentage hits in there. And after that, I'm jumping over to the impossible shot, increasing my weapon range by 20%, making my reach to the target even further. And with her high accuracy that she's having, starting off with an accuracy of 80, mixed up with these is just outstanding. She's nailing her shots like none other. And then since she is my kind of like reconnaissance strike team, you would like to say, she's most of the time also kind of like my lone wolf units, then I'm grabbing Commando with the plus extra accuracy whenever she is isolated to the other squad members. So she's most of the time acting alone, flanking the enemy, taking out high priority targets or disabling high priority targets with her high value targets system. And this is kind of like my spiel that I'm doing with her. So at the beginning, she's kind of like scout concealment units to try to tag high priority targets where there's MGs in there, rocket launchers, etc., to help my team maneuver and move around. Later on, she starts becoming her ambush first contact volley spiel, where the ambush ability comes into play and her concealment starts to show really well. And then towards the end game with Commando and the impossible shots, she can basically hold the flank on her own and completely evaporate whatever is coming there. The weapon of choice that I would recommend are K-bars, suppressed K-bars, 5 to 9 rifles you want to have with you, so 5 to 9 squaddies. I would definitely grab something anti-tanks, and so an RPG or any other anti-armor special weaponry. You want the Jaeger concealment armor, because that gives her a lot of camo. You want on top of that camo as well taken with her, and ammunition, because she will shoot a lot. So to break it all down, what I'm doing is I'm building her up to have a full rifle squad with some AT on her, and then at the beginning be a smaller 3-team person recon team, because it's cheaper, and have her out there concealed and with good view range, helping me maneuver on the battlefield and spawn threats before they are there. But towards the end, she's becoming a full squad member with AT, with some silence key bars, and I promise you, she's gonna destroy everything that is in her pathway. Oh, next we have Charles Lim, or as I call him, the Uber driver. He's driving on my squads around, being carried by a transport vehicle, dropped off, and is just so versatile in its maneuvering, in its speed, and in saving MPs in his maneuver and getting into position. What is unique on him is aspiring discounts on promotions, meaning every promotion, every perk that you get him is a lot cheaper compared to any other squad member, any other squad lead that you have in your group. Meaning ultimately that you are a lot faster with Charles Lim on high tier level than with any other character. So let's start breaking down what kind of perks I grab first, and then also what kind of weapon I pack with him and send him out into the battlefield. First, I'm grabbing a run and gun. That lets me get into position and then also have the chance to shoot a salvo out that I would normally not be able to do, because the minus 10 AP is very powerful when it comes to flanking, maneuverability, and then afterwards shooting. You just have to keep in mind that you always have to move first and fire after, not fire first and move after. Then the run and gun moves over straight into mobile infantry, where I use very little AP to enter, exit out of vehicles and maneuver around it, because that gives me the chance to maneuver in with the vehicle, kind of like what I've learned in Austrian military as a Panzergrenadier. We drive in there with our transport vehicle, the back goes open, and the group comes out, delivering whatever firepower is needed specifically to the needs there. So that's basically exactly that kind of like strike, get out of tactics that I'm using Lim with. After mobile infantry, I'm grabbing Stubborn. No AP loss from being suppressed, because I'm throwing him there into the front line, so I want him to not get suppression, because otherwise the whole tactic and flanking maneuverability is absolute, and you're getting suppressed. You cannot do anything with him anymore, and you have to bail him out of there. Followed into point fire, because that means I have a higher accuracy combined with run and gun, because as you remembered, we're running into position, getting minus 10 AP on our shots, and then also our point fire comes into play, where our accuracy increased because we're not deployed and not pinned down, and we maneuvered into position, increasing our fire range, our fire accuracy. English is hot today, so please bear with me. I'm probably gonna have a lot of blah, 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 blah in the video. After point fire, I'm getting counter-strike. Since Lim is my kind of like frontline guy, he's gonna get shot at, and I want him to shoot back. So it's straight and simple. Counter-strike, you get shot at, you have a salvo free back at the enemy. What I'm intrigued there, maybe you know, if my character shoots back with a counter-attack, does that trigger and decrease his maximum ammo that he has still in his weapon? Logically would make sense, but it's a game, so there could be maybe a bug there, or maybe some gamified incentive that he's still shooting back without actually using ammunition from his shots. Maybe somebody can check that and write into the comments down below. After Counter-Strike, I'm grabbing Berserk, where we regain 30 AP after destroying a unit, giving me the chance maneuver again, run and gun, high accuracy with point fire, deliver a salvo in there, destroy that unit, and then getting 30 AP back, letting me either reposition into even a better situation, get back out of there, or maybe even have enough AP left for another salvo. And then after Berserk, I'm leading into Blaze of Glory, where it removes suppression and restores AP. Very often I ignore the remove suppression part, since we're having the Stubborn there and we're not losing AP there, but it helps. Mainly I do it just because it just restores my AP and I can go again. Probably if my shot has not killed the target and I really needed to die, then I could go Blazing Glory, activate it, get my AP back, kill it. That triggers maybe then Berserk, giving me again AP, and you know, you get the drift there. So in terms of progression with Lim, aka Charles, early on you want to make use of his promotion discount as fast as possible, because the 30% discount on it gives you so much and so fast adjustability on his abilities there. So you get very early run and gun mobility infantry, or mobile infantry. And early on, you normally have a troop transporter with you, unless you go for 3 infantry squad lines, you don't have a vehicle with you. But then Lim, you might want to completely move with him in a different direction. That is up to you. But for me, he's my Uber driver. He's jumping on Uber cars and getting in and out. So I normally have something fast to bring him into the front line, let him jump out, and just wreak havoc on that side that I need it on. And then towards mid-game, you want him to kind of like soak up damage. You want him to get attacked at, so he triggers counter-strike as often as possible, meaning that he will shoot cheaply, he's gonna get suppressed a lot without losing your turns, and that really helps you in your maneuvering and turn strategy. That's not the word I'm looking for. Your turn management. That's the word I'm looking for. And then towards endgame with Berserk and Counter-Strike and Blaze of Glory, you just have, you know, turns where you just have a lot of multi-kills with him before anything else happens. So the package in terms of weaponry that I throw on him is as followed. I use a key pack. I give him the Pirate Captain PDW or a Black Tip ARC. Shotguns also work. And always grab HP match ammo for consistency. Smoke saves your ass if it becomes too hot. And then always you want an troop carrier if you're grabbing mobile infantry. Mobile infantry is kind of optional depending if you are having your Uber taxi or not. If not, of course, mobile infantry becomes absolute, and you go for something else, either Grenadier, where you can grab additional smokes with you, or you go for Return to Serve. Since they're in the front line, there's chances that they're gonna throw stuff at you, so with Return to Serve, you throw that stuff back. That's also kind of a viable option there. At least that's how I use them. Up next we have Marta Carda. Marta for me is always kind of like a low-cost support unit. I rarely have her with a lot of squaddies with her, especially in the early game phase. I always have her as an target marker, first aids, support units with some sort of squad lead weapon, depending on the situation. What's interesting on her is the out of crates that she's having, where she's starting with minus 15 accuracy and discipline at the mission start, and it boosts by 5% every turn. So you kind of don't want her at the beginning in the front line fighting. You want her mostly in the back, marking targets and taking her time until the buffs slowly kind of build up with her. So to break her down, the very first thing that I'm grabbing with Marta is, of course, call out targets. It marks the target within 10 tiles, and everybody gets plus 20 accuracy against that marked target. That is very powerful if you have, for example, a cheaper pilot with you that is not very good in accuracy, or an overall kind of like lower tier units. Calling out targets gives you that upper hand advantage very early on in game. So call out targets if Marta's in my squads is definitely one of the first things that I'm getting, because she's gonna just be there out there marking my targets every turn and giving me the chance to, well, actually hit with units that are very weak at the beginning. Also, her growth potential is pretty powerful. She has a very high growth potential, sitting currently on and 9. I think 9 is the highest value. So all her stats will increase massively throughout the campaign, making her very powerful later on. But mostly she's still gonna sit around for me as an support 3 squad unit, where she's using ATGMs, mortars, RPGs, etc. Also, I love, since I'm playing very often with Lim together and have my Uber taxi anyways, her in a vehicle to just go to the front line, drop out, mark things, shoot her special weapon, get back into the car, that kind of spiel. So let's break down. First, we're gonna grab call out target to mark targets within 10 tiles for the high accuracy. Next, we're gonna grab athletics, because she's starting with quite a low AP points. Actually, 85 is not that low, but nevertheless, with athletics, we can move around a lot more, and we're not losing that much deployment costs with her, especially if she has some heavy weaponry where she has to deploy it before being able to shoot it. Then, of course, shared load. Special weapons use for each squaddy up to 100%. That just gives me more versatility and more ammo for all my special weapons. Then, as I said, she's also sharing the right mobile infantry, of course, so I can send her into an AP, send her to the front line, let her pop out, start marking targets, or pop back in if it's needed. So she's kind of like fast and versatile in that occasion. Then, since I'm using mostly an ATGM with her on RPG, I'm definitely gonna grab Tank Buster, so her armor penetration and damage against hardware is higher. And then followed into Full Send, where minus 10 AP hardware or special weapon costs for consecutive usage. So, you know, AP goes there, she drops it, she marks target, she deploys, next turn she starts hammering down with that ATGM, with the RPG, you name it, and every time she shoots, the AP costs are being lowered, giving her more and more shots. And then last but not least, it's Team Spirit. High Spirit's morale status unlocked for the whole group. Very kind of neat little trick that in Breakdown does as follows. Allied units can now gain the High Spirit's morale status by killing enemies and pursuing objectives. High Spirits gives you 5 accuracy in defense and 15% to suppression reduction. That alone is a nice buff, a nice buff, especially because of the accuracy. It just makes your whole squad shoot better and perform better on the battlefields. So also kind of a very early on thing that I want to have for my squads, because she's just boosting them all over with sure loads, with Team Spirit, and then the combination with Tank Buster and Full Send. Using her as an ATGM unit, for example, or an RPG unit is very strong, very strong. And then, of course, early game call-out targets, where she's helping your squaddies land those targets, because the 20% accuracy is insanely strong. So yeah, as mentioned, RPGs, ATGM, disposal ATs, mortars, grenade launcher, definitely some cheap primary weapon. You don't want to lose a lot of points over there. Don't give her something special. Just give her a nice squad lead weapon. Keep the squad's numbers as low as possible, and just a trash weapon on her. Best would be the starting weapon, so you don't lose deployment points with her. Then the target's designator can help. Smoke, always optional, and also some sort of ammo if you want to. So yeah, as I mentioned, best in her together with a designated taxi to bring her to the front line and just hammer down with your special squad lead weapon, or at the beginning, holding out the targets, nailing them down, and helping your squad basically to perform on the battlefield. Up next we have Pike. Oh man, I love Pike. His background is cool, his character is cool, and I have to chill. I'm getting so excited every time I talk about Menace, because this game is so good, and I can't wait until it evolves. We've already beat it on the highest difficulty. You can check out the full playthrough of it once when we start playing it and understood the basics of it, and then the second run on the highest difficulty, Iron Man mode, hardcore, you name it, we managed to beat it. And I'm not just basically sitting around waiting for 1.0 to come out to go at it again with an highest difficulty hardcore run. Maybe we'll manage again to do it in the first run, or we might need multiples. And I invite again you guys to join in, become squaddies, and see who survives, who's becoming the best performing squaddie. I hope that also the developers give us a little bit more statistics on squaddies itself and how they perform, so we can have a little bit of a friendly competition in terms of who's the MVP of support, who's the MVP of taking shots, etc. And have a little bit of a gamble there. Also, a quick shout out for every YouTube member that is supporting the channel. You of course have access to our sheet over here, so you can just send me a DM if you're interested and grab the mana sheets, where I break down exactly the promotion steps, the weaponry that I give them, and overall just a nice follow-up sheet for each squad lead to check out. Good. Pike. Pike is very powerful with his taking command ability, where he gives somebody friendly within 6 tiles a plus 40 AP. Basically a free shot, you could say, or if needed, an repositioning or the chance to deploy, because you know it will now start Hail Mary bullets coming in, and you want your units to be hunkered down before they get shot standing in the open. Very situational, a very powerful tool, and saved my ass so many times. So Pike I use kind of similar to Carda. to Carda. He is my call-out targets, taking commands, and giving APs left and right while marking targets to shoot at. So very often I end up using Pike, very similar to Carda, with very limited squad use at the beginning, so he can support my team to the maximum with the little points that I have available. Later down the line, there are different options that you can direct Pike towards too. So until we've reached "this is my rifle" with Pike, we're keeping him low. We're keeping him with just a few squaddies so he can operate and be my kind of scouts and marking units up there in the front line. Speaking of scouts, scout is the first thing that I grab with him, where my view range and detection range is increased, because seeing and knowing where the enemy is kind of like the factor very often of a win or a lose, because if a unit surprises you or manages to flank you without you noticing, or coming into range to fire at you before you know that there's a potential threat coming at you, or you have a vehicle with a radar, of course that makes everything obsolete, but definitely having scout on him early on helps out a lot, leading into call-out targets, so I can then mark targets for my squaddies to fire at when I'm not using taking commands to give them points to either, you know, maneuver a few more tiles forward or get into position. Depends on the situation what I need to do or want to do. Next one is Inspiring Presence, where targets adjacent to him are getting accuracy and discipline. So basically just standing next to him makes you shoot better. So what I sometimes do is, with him and Carda together, make them stand next to each other, giving Inspiring Presence to kind of like special squad lead weaponry like ATGMs or stationary weapons, because they then profits of that 50% accuracy boost, hitting a lot better. After the Inspiring Presence, we move in straight into Combat Rally allies, and reduces their suppression. Very helpful if you find yourself in a predicament and it's not Lim in the front line who's not really bothered by suppression. Commander Rally is kind of like the trigger that helps you to deal with a situation that maybe became a little bit out of hand, and your squad became under fire without wanting it, or being pressed or pushed by vehicles or pirate flanks or something like that, or later on the militia. Comes very clutch and helps out in a dire situation to not die if it comes to high suppression over the fields. Okay, Corm, just Norris, relax, take a breather. We're not on a race. We don't have to suppress or put this guide into a 10-minute video and talk like a freaking machine gun. Whew. There we go. Stalwart. Pike never quits or gives up. Very powerful enemy, very powerful ability, meaning that you can always rely on Pike. He will not wither, he will not break, he will be there, your beacon light, your shine of hope, who will inspire people around him, who will throw taken commands issues left and right, who will call out targets, so you know he will stand there until he's not anymore alive. But that luckily didn't happen to us. And then, after that, we're at a point where we are having so many action points that we can bring to the field that "this is my rifle" becomes viable, where the rifle for his squaddies is lowered by half the price. Meaning you can give him quite strong, powerful rifles there, and make a full squad line, and then also start using him as a firing squad and bringing some damage to the enemy, because his starting accuracy with 70 is not bad, and 100 action points is not bad. Growth potential is on 2. We can argue to grab growth potential early on. I'm still not very intrigued by the growth potential factor, and it's increasing over the course of action and the campaign. I'm still needed to see, or maybe you can convince me, you know, that now growth factor is definitely something to keep in mind. I so far have completely ignored it, or at least ignored it in terms of picking perks that boost it. So this is my rifle. We were minus 50% of the supply cost. So you can give them high costly weapons to the squad, make them very powerful, and that for the half of the price. And from This Is My Rifle, go to firing line, faster rate of fire when no special weapon is equipped. What does that mean exactly for us? That means we have a minus 10 AP cost to consecutive shots when no special weapon is equipped. So, shooting at a target, next shot is minus 10. Shooting at a target, next shot is even minus 10 on that. Unless they've changed it, but the cost overall should be lowered by 10 every time you shoot. So, to summarize it, we're starting off with scouts and call-out targets. Pike being a very small squad, more kind of like an optional functional squad leads to help you out, call out targets, to give you AP points, to be able to maneuver and deliver your tactics on the field without actually taking a lot of part in the combat itself, kind of like a support unit at the beginning. Then later on, leading into full squad with This Is My Rifle, laying down devastating fire on the enemy. So what I give Pike normally, well, cheap weapons, small squad. I give them target laser designator. I give him smokes. I give him all kinds of utility accessories. And later on, I might or might not make him a full rifle squad when I have This Is My Rifle. Depends on the crew constellation that I'm having and running. But that's basically it. That's for Pike. Up next, we have Tekko'Beo Phosa, aka Mr. T, aka Mr. Tech. I still find it super funny, and he reminds me of Mr. T from the A-Team every time I see him. He has his special ability, Get Motherfucked, can use all special weapons without having to deploy them. That means you can maneuver with him and shoot an RPG without, I mean, you know, the bigger ones, ATGM and whatnot, and shoot them without the need of actually deploying the units. Very powerful, very kind of like frontline breaker at situations. I like to throw him in there into the front line and just have my fun with him, destroying stuff left and right. But let's dig into it. So because of the Get Mother Effed, he's kind of like my heavy weapon wrist that brings some heavy caliber to the front line. Not necessarily heavy caliber in terms of sniper, but stuff like AMGs, autocannons, stuff that has a lot of DACA and is hard to maneuver with and always needs to be deployed and whatnot. So with him, you can just go up there and freaking hammer down like there's no tomorrow. So the very first thing I'm grabbing with him is athletics. So I want him to be to have a lot of maneuverability, to make him move fast and far, so he can get in position and use his special weaponry to fire out there as fast as possible. Followed after, we're gonna grab quick hands, where my accessory costs are lowered by 10%. Very handy in terms of grenades and other stuff to be used without using a lot of costs there. After quick hands, we're grabbing point fire, because when he's not deployed or pinned down, his accuracy is increased. Since I want with athletics him to move a lot, he will move into position and then fire without getting down into deployment, etc. So I even sometimes might be that I'm arriving at the destination, shoot, and then deploy if I need him to be somewhat safe about incoming fire. After that, I'm grabbing fragmentation, where enemy elements hit by AoE weapons get extra damage, because, again, quick hands, accessory points are lowered. So I'm bringing him in front, and if there's enemies nearby, grenades are coming in left and right. After fragmentation, we're going for long bomb, where my throwing range for all grenades are increased, so he's, footballing those things even further away by 2 tiles comes very handy, giving you the chance to go into nice positions and throw those bombs into angles that they don't see that coming. After that, we're going for full send, where AP hardware or special weapon costs are consecutive uses the AP reduced. So, okay, wait. Let's have that in an English sentence again. Squad lead weapons and other stuff that we're using are reduced by 10 HP every time we use them consecutively. So since we're bringing autocannons, AMGs with me, etc., we most likely will fire a lot, and with that we can fire even more. AKA full send equals more DACA. I don't know why I'm starting now to use orc terms, but you know, you get it. And after full send, of course, Die Hard. Minus 9% to incoming damage for the squad leader, where he's gonna be just last man standing sometimes. Happened a few times, especially when you start fighting against the, you know, the M-A-N-A-C-E. M-A-M-E. You know what I mean. English is hard, I'm telling you. I don't know what's going on today. Back to tech. So early on, what I'm doing with tech is I want to move with him as fast as I can and use the special weapon. So an AMG very early on helps me to get into position and straight up fire, suppressing fire on the targets without the need to deploy the AMG and deliver good shots there. So into the front, fire out the squad lead weapons. Later on into auto-grade launchers and other shenanigans. So in terms of weaponry that I'm giving him, it's autocannon, AMG, auto-grenade launchers, rockets, mortars, depends on the situation of course, always cheap squad weapons, and sometimes a designator, and of course grenades. Well, the grenades are basically flex tools because he's gonna use the squad lead weaponry most, but if they come close enough, the grenades start flying left and right. Next we have a Jean with her Economic 101, minus 15% supply cost for her squad and equipment, meaning everything that you put on her is cheaper to bring onto the battlefield, making her the ultimate thrift shop, kind of like transporting weaponry and accessories to the battlefield, you name it. Besides that, she's also a very good looking red-headed pirate. Yeah. Bring him to the battlefield, why not? The first thing I grab with her is Trinket, plus 30% item drop chance when killing enemies, meaning I want her to do the killing blow on the targets, if possible of course. That leading into bags and pelts, giving me extend accessory slot by 1 point, letting me bring in even more things into the battlefield. Very situational what I'm bringing with me. May it be grenades, may it be AT tank stuff, may it be ammunition for special weaponry. That leads into resourceful, giving me 1 extra accessory use, excluding bots. And that of course leads into quick hands that we know already from tech, that reduces my cost for using those set accessories. So extra slot, more usage for them, and cheaper to use. Then after quick hands, I'm grabbing Scavenger, where dead enemies drop a refill for special weapon and accessories, leading then again into quick hands and so on and so forth. Followed up by Pirate's Luck down there with a plus 50% defense versus the first attack each round, giving her kind of like pretty good time, whatever is shooting at her. Leading then, of course, because we have so many accessories, into Fragmentation, where I want to benefit on the AoE extra damage when I throw that out. So early on, what I use her economic tactics is to field a lot more stuff because it's cheaper with her. So I bring a lot more stuff to the battlefield and you know, fill her up with accessories, fill her up with good weapons, armor, etc. because it's cheaper for me to host a squad with those stuffs, and her high cheapiness, is that even a word? Making everything cheaper, and compensate her lack of accuracy with marking, for example, with Pike or Carda, and combine those things and mitigate there a little bit her accuracy. And then around mid-game, we have, of course, with the resourcefulness and quick hands, her ability to use accessories a lot of times, multiple times per turn, before she runs out of AP. And then towards the end game, the Scavenger and the Trinket thing come nicely into play, because we're going to use then, for example, anti-tank stuff to destroy things, or grenades to take out units, leading into Scavenger dropping a refill for the special thing, and Trinketing triggering, giving me a drop chance of that item, making me very quickly very rich. So in terms of package that I'm bringing with her are as followed: disposable AT rockets, EMP tools, all kinds of grenades, smokes, a very cheap primary weapon, then a load-bearing rig or other accessories, capacity gear, and then of course if there's an APC with her to transport her, chef's kiss. So basically imagine that she isn't an AP transporter. You drive with her to the front line or into position. She pops out there and she starts shooting her disposable AT rocket launcher left and right at the hard targets because of the lowered cost, because of the extra uses, and then it triggers Scavenger because you destroyed it, and because you destroyed it, it triggers Trinketing, giving you item drops off that vehicle that are, again, very costly to sell on the black market, and, you know, it's starting to loop, and you're getting a lot of items and a lot of money and a lot of quick. You know what I mean. Facial massage, a lot of information that I have to deliver because there's so many cool synergies and integrations with them that I'm so excited, and I'm trying my best to deliver them. So thank you, Kody, for sticking with me till now. Let's go on. Up next, we have Kody Greifinger. What a German name. He's my first response. He's my first volley. I want him to take the first shots out there. And also, if shit hits the fan, he definitely is very often armed with anti-hardware weaponry. So let's have a look at the perks. Guerrilla, 20% accuracy and 30% damage versus healthy targets, meaning if the target has not been shot at and you're doing the first salvo at it, higher chance to hit and higher damage. That means that you have to think, okay, Greifinger is always, or at least when possible, but always my guy who's gonna shoot first at that target before everybody else goes at it. Of course, if it's hardware and you have a pilot or an anti-tank or tank barrel or whatever, that's something else. But on infantry targets, you want Greifinger to be the first one to make the first salvo at that target, because accuracy increased and damage increased. After that, we're grabbing, of course, athletics. I want him to be maneuverable, flexible. I don't want to use a lot of points when moving around, and I want it to be easy in the cost of getting on your knees, hit the dirt, get back up, keep moving. I want that to be fast on him. Followed up by sharpshooter, where we have the enemy cover decrease, meaning that we're gonna hit targets behind cover, similar to Darby. Then we move into Vanguard because we want to deploy him into the front as fast as possible, because he's my opener. He's gonna take the first shots if possible. Then, of course, I want Tank Buster because I want him to be also good against hardware if something pops up, giving me that juicy 25% extra damage and armor penetration on hardware. Comes very good against those MANACE. I'm not sure if my whispering came through because noise filter. From Tank Buster, we jump over to Assassin, giving us extra 30 damage, 20 accuracy against isolated targets. What does that exactly mean is if there's no units 4 tiles away to another. So if there's no friend 4 squares around them, you can trigger the Assassin perk on them when attacking. And from here, from Assassin, we moving back to Recover, where we can lower suppression for each enemy eliminated by Greifinger. So even if we are getting shot at and we manage to shoot back and kill a few targets, we can kind of like mitigate that kind of suppression issue. And then, of course, if shit hits the fan, then we want the deploy decoy, where we can deploy a decoy next to us, and just helps us to focus the enemy on that target and let me either maneuver out of the hot zone or just make sure that I at least have, for a turn or a few moves, the enemy fire at the decoy and making me ready or letting me have enough time to get into position. So early on with him, you want to attack untouched targets to cash in on that gorilla, so you can jump targets as well to do maximum damage there, then switch targets, finish off whatever there is left standing, because you want to trigger that gorilla accuracy extra damage as often as possible, of course. Then the Vanguard and Sharpshooter buff helps you definitely target enemies and shoot at enemies who are behind cover and getting those shots connected. And then later on with Tank Buster and Assassin, that combination is fantastic against enemy hardware. If they're somewhere driving around isolated or alone, rocket in there, thing is gone. So some extra tactics towards Kody, to Mr. Greifinger, is I keep him upgraded very late, because the guerrilla tactics is his free ability that he has, and that's already on its own so powerful that I tend to promote him very late, because his extra accuracy and damage early on with Guerrilla is so strong and delivers so much damage on the enemy that I rarely promote him. Just after like 2, 3, 4 missions, I start spending some points on him as well. In terms of package that I deliver and send with him, it's RPG, ATGMs, AMRs, and any other high impact special weapon. Then suppressed or EM rifles for the squad, concealment armor and ammo, of course. We want a lot of shots and we want to have them not being spotted as easily. And that depends on your point management. You can either have them as a 3 squad units with a squad lead weapon or as a full fire squadding unit. Both way works with that build. Moving over to our Tovarish Fedor Yazhov. His special ability is No Mercy, plus 15 accuracy and damage versus wavering or fleeing enemies. So basically, he is your finisher. He takes out whatever is there already having a hard time. And if you mix that with Fearsome, he's doing even more morale damage, leading into whole armies just routing, even though they're still at full HP, even though they're still just settled in. A very, very powerful, especially against bugs, in my opinion. But let's break it down. First thing, of course, I'm grabbing Fearsome with the morale damage. It's very powerful. Attacks made by these units have 100% more impact on morale. And if you make him finish off a target with No Mercy, increasing the damage, triggering Fearsome, I swear to gods, you'll just see everybody around starting legging it. It's insane. Fearsome, very powerful ability of his. Then, of course, I do like my taxi driving rounds, mobile infantry, to make him jump into the AP, get to the front line, or into any position I need him, jump out there, be in position, ready to go. And then, please, somebody correct me, but I'm probably gonna butcher it, is Goster Priminsko Babushki. I think Babushki means something about grandma or mom. I don't know. Babushka? I think it's grandma. Refill ammo, reduce suppression, and heal a squaddy. How powerful is that? It's kind of like, you know, he's bringing up the vodka box, giving everybody hands out, and everybody's happy again. After the refill ammo and giving everybody a free shot of your biggest burning potato schnapps from the cellar, we move it into close and personal. Gain adjacency ACC bonus. What that means exactly is the closer you are, the higher the bonus is. 20 accuracy when adjacent to a target, the bonus loses 5% for each tile for separation. So standing next to each other, 20%, 2 tiles 15, 3 tiles 10, 4 tiles 5%. Very powerful. So guess what? What kind of weaponry work very well with him? Shotguns, for example. Exactly. After the close and personal, we're going over for finisher. 30% accuracy and damage against suffering enemies. No Mercy. Finishes suffering enemies. What does suffering enemies mean? If they are stunned, disabled, or disrupted. So for example, if you throw in a flashbang in there, that enemy stuns, and you start hammering with him on that enemy, the damage output will be insanely good. The only advice that I can give to you is maybe have some sticky notes next to your monitor with the squaddies that you're using, and put exactly this kind of like mechanical plot hooks that they have, as for example this finisher whenever they are somebody stunned, etc. extra damage, and have them somewhere in your visual vicinity, unless maybe the developers find a way to bring that out in the UI to kind of like tell you, hey, this is happening here. If you are using now this guy, you can get a beneficial of that bonus. Or if you know, to have some visual feedback. It's probably very hard to balance to not get an overloaded UI, because I hate overloaded UIs, and it helps me to figure out what's going on. I'm working with 3 monitors, so I normally have on one monitor my kind of like Excel sheets with what's going on right now in my squad, who is doing what, and just one view up there helps me to plan my strategy. After finisher, we could of course go to berserk, because that just goes hand in hand nicely with it, with no mercy, finisher, berserk. So very often it happens that you come to somebody, stand adjacent to them, completely obliterate them, and get extra AP on them to obliterate the next target. And then after berserk, I'm going for counter strike, that's so that somebody is shooting at me, I shoot back at them, doing again extra damage. So early on, fearsome helps a lot to create a lot of morale damage and kind of like CC the enemies. Later on, turning him into a mobile infantry with babushki, where I can refill my ammo and reduce my suppression and heal squaddies. I can maintain that front line, getting shot at. It's not that big of a deal. And if Pike is back there to boost my morale as well, if suppression is happening, fantastic combo. And then towards the end, I want that finisher berserk combo popping off together with no mercy to just destroy enemies. In terms of weaponry, what do I bring with him? There's some options. Here's my list. SMG, PDW, shotguns of course, or any very high rate fire rifles. Smoke, always good. Then all kinds of movement utilities. Then I'm very often using a taxi to use that taxi to reach with him wavering targets to get the no mercy trick kick coming off. Then again, that triggers fearsome, and you know, the whole spiel starts from the beginning. The only downside with Fedor is when you use him in the front line, you definitely want another source to be your suppressor. So for example, tack with an MG or something that suppresses the enemy for you, and him being just the executioner who's going in. Up next we have JG, that's a tongue twister, JG Wetteroth, our bug hunter, our space cowboy, space hunter, space, you know what I mean, trophy collector. His special ability is Big Game Hunter, getting extra accuracy and armor penetration against large targets. So your perfect unit to go hunt those queens, those mortar spitting bugs and other big targets out there. So for me, Wetteroth is kind of like a niche scout / attrition marksman. Let's break him down. First up, I'm grabbing, of course, scouts. I want view range and detection with him because I'm having him somewhat in the front line going hunting for big targets. After that, I want if it bleeds, 50% max HP turn bleed effect inflicted on enemies. So every time you shoot at them, let's dive into it really quickly, causes 50% max HP health loss per turn for 2 turns after damaging an enemy unit. Can only kill 1 enemy element per tick, cannot stack. But it's definitely a nice tick to have on high HP targets who have high armor, who are big. You want that shot to get out there, to harass them, to nail them with maybe some squad lead weapons, some sniper rifle that has a good range, hit them, get that bleed tick on them as fast as possible. After that, call out targets, because again, have the chance to help your whole squad to hit better is always a viable option. After that, Vanguard, because I want to be able to deploy my units and go out there as fast as possible into the front line. Moving again to Finisher, that, you know, plays nicely together with our Tovarish from earlier. If I have units that throw out flashbangs, stun enemies, or using EMP rifles to hit targets, or disruptive fire perk with the disrupted, all kinds of abilities help there to trigger Finisher, and Finisher is not common, but seen at a few squad leads, so very, very helpful to have a few flashbangs with you. Then unique to him, we have finishing shots, up to 50% damage against wounded enemies. Wounded enemies mean up to when HP is missing. The more HP is missing, the higher the percentage of damage against the wounded enemies is. That's why it says up to 50. I don't know the exact math behind it. I didn't test the exact HP margins going up and down when shots were happening, but the more wounded it is, the higher the damage shot is coming from his side. After that, we want minimize silhouette, 3% defense for each tile of distance for enemy fire. So the further away they are and shooting at you, the higher your defensive against them is. So early on with him, I use him as a scout and marker unit. I don't necessarily shoot with him stuff yet. Then mid-game, I do like to give him a mortar, for example, because if that mortar hits, if it bleeds triggers and starts nabbing away on their max HP, and then later on, the finisher and finishing shots boost that even further, letting my mortar, for example, hit those big targets with high damage and taking them out from quite a nice range. There's only one perk that I cannot really recommend for the moment. This is a knife. Crocodile Dundee reference over here. Feels a little bit like a trap perk because you rarely come with him into melee, and it feels a little bit off. I think this is now needs some alterations or overall a change in terms of the perk. And why I'm saying that is because his defenses are poor. -5%. You don't want him to be in the lead. Up next, we're having a look at Jacques, Yves Vamplew. Reminds me of Blade from the Vampire Hunter Blade for some odd reason. So Jacques' first special ability is Partir de Rien. Can use a unique resource to gain 60 AP instantly. What does that mean exactly? Gains a stack of pressure when attacked. Spend 4 stacks to instantly gain 4 AP. So he wants to have him getting shot at as often as possible. So for example, jump pack, heavy armors to bring him into the front line and, well, survive the shots are definitely very, very helpful on him. So let's break him down. The first I want with him is, of course, athletics, so I can move and deploy with him at ease. So he has a lot of versatility on the field, and let me maneuver with him a lot around and flank and bring him into positions that I need. After that, I'm going for shooting gallery, 30% accuracy and 30% damage against an enemy out of cover, meaning for me that I'm trying to bring them into a situation where they're shooting at the enemy, where there's no cover in between, to trigger that bonus on top of that. Very often against bugs, because they run out of cover and straight at you in a straight line very often. So shooting gallery, always a nice thing to have out there to target the enemy in the open. Also, if you have the jump back and you jump on the side where there's no cover for them, and you shoot straight at them with an SMG or shotgun or something like that, that triggers them as well. Leading into very powerful shock attack situations that I can highly recommend to pull them off because they're so cool. You jump in there and land there, completely destroy them because of shooting gallery. After shooting gallery, we go for, as fast as possible, flamboyant supply cost for armor. That's why, pirate jetpack is very expensive, but with flamboyant, very, very feasible and affordable early on. After flamboyant, we go to fortify, +1 cover level, has no effect when in heavy cover. So overall, half cover becomes heavy cover, and so on and so forth. So overall, it helps us mitigate damage at us, not getting hits, but then again, partir de rien, when we're getting shot at, we're getting a stack of pressure. If we have 4 stacks of pressure, bam, we get 60 AP. That is definitely at least 1 free shot at the enemy. After 45, we move over to Stubborn, where we don't lose any AP when we are suppressed, because we want them to shoot at us. We don't want, of course, to suffer the penalty for suppression. From Stubborn, then, we move over to Taunt, attract attention for 1 turn. What does that mean exactly? Increase the threat for 1 turn. So sometimes it is necessary to gather an enemy, attention, etc., etc., etc. The target's mother, the target's dead relatives, size of the target's genitalia, and the target's mothers again because she's just that big. These are Marines Combat Manual Trooper Edition. That's basically the taunt happening. So they become their major threats, and everybody will try to target your dear Yves Vamplew. And then from there, we go to critical hits. Attacks have a 25% chance to inflict 50% more damage. That triggers very often, and if you combine him with SMG's shotgun close work stuff, where your critical hit chance is also increased, then that just combines very nicely together. You jump in there, shoot at them, and you just see them not anymore. Because they're like here, disruptive fire. They just become particles over there. Okay, trust me, it's fun. It's fun to send your units flying in there and completely obliterate the enemy up close with SMGs and shotguns. Next we have our favorite tech support, Sachin Singh, with his strength in numbers. Gain 4 accuracy and discipline for each squaddy over a minimum of 5, but lose the same for each under that number. So we want him to use with a full squad, because you get that accuracy and discipline bonus, and trying to, of course, don't lose any squaddies with him. But he has some stuff to mitigate that in terms if somebody dies. So he's kind of your suppression full squad unit anchor. He will bring a lot of fire on the enemy, suppress them with their squad rifles, and all on top of that by being very cheap to deploy and bring good weaponry to the front line. So let's break it down. First up, we want, of course, suppressive fire. Increase 150 suppressive inflicted by squad weapons. Meaning, again, full squad, a lot of squad weapons. You want somewhat of a higher fire rate on your squad weapons to, trigger that suppressive fire higher as well. So you can have a look out there what kind of weapons you want to give him. Crowbars, for example, are also quite viable with him, but that is up to you. After that, we go for determinants. Incoming suppression, of course, we want lowered, because if your squad is firing at them, there's a high chance they're firing at you. Then for determined, we go for steady gun, plus 25 accuracy, and plus view range, vent stationary for at least 1 turn. So you want to try to bring them into a fire position, hold them there, and start firing from there towards targets, delivering suppressing, and if they come close enough, of course, don't get suppressed that far. After that, I'm getting jump the grenades, where anytime an AoE grenade stuff gets thrown at my Sachin, there's only 1 squaddy dying. There's not an AoE splash on it, because, somebody jumps that grenade and plays the hero, becomes Captain America in another universe. From jump the grenade, I'm moving over to firing line. Faster rate of fire when with no special weapons is equipped. If you have that, moving then over to the crowbar that I mentioned, your rate of fire is increased, your suppression is increased, and overall you throw more duck out there. Of course, you can argue and not grab jump the gun and go for this is my rifle, for example, to lower the supply cost on your squad weapons. It kind of depends on the situation. And then lastly, reinforcements. Reinforce the squad mid-combat. Replace all dead squaddies with fresh ones drawn from the manpower pool. Keep in mind, they're drawn from your pool. They're not just coming out of nowhere. They're being deployed there from your reserves that you have for manpower. So keep that in mind. Had some situation where I triggered it and I didn't get people in because I ran out of manpower. Happened. This is how I use my Sanjay. So early on, deployment full strength, so you get that number positive and that bonus for strength in numbers. In the mid-session, try to make him your main suppressor by just hailing barrages on your enemy with the full squad. And then towards, even increase that with your firing line by increasing the fire rates by just hailing even more DACA onto the enemy. What I send with him is as followed. Full squad team with the best cost-effective rifle that I have available at the moment. So crowbars, for example, laser designator, and EM maybe, depending on the supply costs, if you have available or not. Then definitely avoid any special weapons with them. Definitely avoid any special weapon with them when committing to firing line. You want your group to be firing out there with no special weaponry. And if you go and commit to firing line, you can think about committing also to This Is My Rifle to lower your costs even a little bit further. Up next, we have Harlan. He has just recently played in the World Championship for, was it Norway? Denmark? Sweden? One of the Viking, you know. Harlan. Never mind. Weird joke from my side. His special ability is In and Out. What does In and Out mean? Sabotage costs 0 AP. Counts as 2 units in a capture zone, 30% accuracy versus eliminated target units, and also neutral units rescued by Corlain have movement cost reduced by 4. So every time you basically want him to send out to interact with civilians, you want him to send out to interact with capture zones and sabotage areas, and you want him to send out to finish off eliminate target units designation. So here's my pistol assassin builds in a sense that I'm making with him. The first thing I pick is Ice in the Veins, 5 defense and 5 damage reduction for each point of concealment. Haha. We want his concealment to go up as good as possible. That means concealment weapons, everything that is helping in their camo, etc. to increase the concealment. We want that. After Ice and Veins, we go for the door-to-door, gain +1 concealment when in medium cover, or +3 concealment when in heavy cover. You know, so you can move around covers and get into concealment quite nicely and easily. After that, we want Quick Hands, because we want it to be cheap in case we need to drop a smoke and get him out of there. From Quick Hands, we're going to Backup Plan, where sidearms gain 20% accuracy, 50% damage, 50% armor penetration, and Counter Strike. That is the moment where the pistol build is coming to fruition. From Backup Plan, I'm normally grabbing Vanguard, so I have further in the front line, in the deployment zone, been very quick at already places to be sabotaged or you know, some targets to eliminate. From there, we're moving over to Nothing Personal, plus 50% damage when concealed and close. Again, brief but significant concealment for execution. So basically, what happened here, let's break it down here with exact numbers. Plus 10 concealment after killing an enemy within 2 tiles. So we're moving up close, we're executing the targets, and then we get a 10 concealment. I think the enemy needs to stand by that point next to you in order to be able to see you. We get also bonus concealment is lost by taking any action except end turn. So you want to execute it and you just stand still there where you are. So keep in mind to get in position and then shoot. Not shoot and then get in position. You want to stand still there to get that concealment and let everything pass by you for 1 turn. So, when concealment is at or above 10, Corlain's concealment stats becomes immune to enemy scans, and he gains 50% damage when attacking enemies within 5 tiles. He goes in there, close up, kills the targets, concealment goes poof, skyrockets. If you have some concealment close on top of that, it is at or above 10, and that gives him also increased damage, and we cannot get scanned by those called MENACE. How crazy is that? Your proper 007 agent, basically, this guy. And after Nothing Personal, of course, we move over to Commando, where accuracy and defense is increased when we are isolated, meaning there should be no friendly units within 4 tiles around us. And that's rarely the case if you play him as your pistol assassin out there in the front line, being highly concealed, just taking out targets like it's a piece of cake. It's insane. It's insane. I think in the last run I managed to one-shot my what was it? That bug that spits acid bombs, that AoE mortar bug thing. He one-shotted it. I don't know how and why. Something triggered, critted, gone. The only downside with him is you need to invest a lot of promotion points to get this loop going, to get the Nothing Personal thing going out, to get the Backup Plan out, and then only this unit starts to really show fruition. Before that, it's kind of difficult and hard with him. I normally tend during that time to maybe have him as a sniper if it comes to that. But as soon as I have the backup plan, I start going in with pistols. So, package that I'm bringing him. Sidearm pistols with match-grade ammo, suppressed squad weapons as backup. Of course, Jaeger concealment armor if possible, camo, smoke if shit hits the fan so you can get out of there, or minimal to medium squad size depending on the mission. Normally, I don't have a lot of squad fellas with him. So with that, we're reaching our last man from the infantries, Mr. Wu Wei. Wu Wei has the Dare to Die. Once per mission, if Wu Wei is struck with a fatal damage, it will be ignored and he will be invincible until the next round. He gains 3% crit chance per enemy unit killed, capping at 30%. So the more he kills, the higher his crit chance increases. Let's think about how we can use it. For me, Wu Wei, because he has this kind of like trigger of not to die, I do like to use him as an close quarter combatant, so CQC in that situation. So let's break him down. The first thing that I'm grabbing is Destination Known. Wu Wei's squad increases damage output to help replace the firepower of lost squaddies. What does that mean? Gain 2% HP damage. Gain 2% damage for every 1 HP of lost HP. So, 2 damage extra for every 1 HP lost. I read that out weirdly. Wei's combat effectiveness will be kept closely commensurate with the squad size he started with. So basically, you're benefiting of him losing squaddies, becoming him more powerful and powerful. After Destination Known, I'm going for Stubborn, because I'm sending him into the front line. He's gonna get shot at, he's losing people. I don't want him to lose AP when being suppressed. After that, I'm moving into Divination by Combat, where we get +3 damage reduction after killing an enemy unit or getting suppressed. The DR caps at 30%. So every time we are killing a unit, or we're getting suppressed, our damage reduction is going up, meaning overall we're getting less damage. Wild combo. From Divination by Combat, we go into Point Fire. So we have high accuracy when not deployed or pinned. So I can, maneuver around with him, have high accuracy after moving and shooting, so I'm not forced to go into a deployment situation. And from there, we're moving over to the First Sacrifice. Minus 30% suppression and 10% crit chance after losing the first squaddie. Effect is mission permanent. So basically, I necessarily don't want to, but I definitely throw him into the front line, so we lose a squaddie and trigger the First Sacrifice ability, giving him suppression resistance and crit chance even increased. Remember, his crit chance is already at the max of +30 every time he kills an enemy. With that together, +10, we have already a +40% crit chance there with his shots. Comes in clutch. After that, we go to Spear of the Spine, +40% AP and +100% critical damage if a move ends adjacent to an enemy. Well, what do we want? We want to throw him into the front line, lose HP, lose squaddies, and then when he ends up being next to the targets, he's getting +40 AP and crit damage when his movement ends adjacent to somebody, meaning 40 AP is a free shot. So, shotgun there, boom. Devastating. Devastating, promise you. And then, of course, Counter-Strike, because every time somebody shoots at them, they shoot back, and it hurts if they do so. Because we have Divination by Combat. Damage that is coming in drift. If damage is coming in, we have Destination Known, meaning we do even more damage because we lost HP. If we lose a squaddie, that triggers the First Sacrifice, where suppression is reduced and our crit chance is increased. Crazy! So basically how you want to play him is with a full squad in there, having some SMGs, shotguns, PDWs, some heavy breaching stuff, jump armor, etc. So he can definitely take your shots, don't die quickly, and has a punch to pack out there. It's nasty. It's nasty when he starts shooting left and right with his close quarter abilities. So what I bring with him is full squad with SMGs, shotguns, PDWs, jump armor, smoke, movement drugs, could be if we have a taxi that we switching stubborn to mobile infantry. That's a viable option there. Sometimes I end up having more mobile infantry because I do like to have my AP taxi driving around my infantry units. And with that, we've concluded the infantry parts. If you enjoyed your stay until now, please consider, liking the channel, subscribing, and become part of the family, especially now that we've rebranded to Just Norris. I'm working on 100% reviews, tutorials like these to help you, and then we have the uncut channel from Just Norris where we are playing Let's Plays, where you can check out Menace. Link again to that somewhere on the screen. Enjoy. Daikuta! Man, I love Reva. She is fantastic. One of my favorite tank pilots. Let's start off with her. Her specialty is Revel in Slaughter, plus 60 accuracy and discipline for each enemy unit she destroys, maximum 5 times per mission to stack. Meaning, you want with her doing the kill shots. She's later on a very good tank buster. If you give her for example, a nice tank barrel on there, she's taking out hardware units like there's no tomorrow. There's of course some other viable options with her, depending on your liking playstyle with her. But mostly she shines as a pure combat pilot. So let's break it down. First of all, of course, we're going for tank buster, plus 25 damage and armor penetration on hardware, because we want to shoot those things down. Moving into grind down, 30% armor damage. I sometimes like to take roadkill if bugs come too close to me, especially in the earlier missions. I can just drive over them and do devastating damage without having to use ammo early on. But I do like my grind down. So it's kind of like a flavored take here. From grind down, we just jump straight to Fury, gain 40% base damage but lose accuracy. We kind of mitigate that anyways with our Revel in Slaughter and our marking target situation. So we basically don't care about the 15% accuracy loss. Then we grab the drive-by, minus 10 AP for the next standard attack after moving. That gives us the chance to get into position and still fire a shot, even though we might not have the AP to do so. After that, I do like to grab myself Vanguard, so I have my vehicle up there in the front position already, standing ready with their tank tower, tank barrel, medium tank barrel, long tank barrel, ready to just devastate whatever's coming. Then, of course, leading into Berserk, because if she kills something, getting 30 AP means for me that I can either reposition her, maybe drive back a tile or two, and have her settle down and have a little bit of a chance to maneuver around or maybe do reloads, depending on that. Although, reload I don't think might be enough APs for that, but maybe you can correct me down in the comments below. And from Berserk, we go to Finisher, 30% accuracy and 20% damage against suffering enemies. Again, suffering enemies means stunned, enemies that are disabled by EMP stuff, or stuff that is disrupted. So if you have, for example, an Tovarish in the front line there with some EMP grenades, making sure that the enemy vehicle is stunned from an EMP shot, and then you start taking a shot with Reva after that on that target. Look at the devastation on the vehicle that's happening there if you stun it before and then fire after. So basically with Reva, as soon as you have grind down and Fury, armor kind of becomes kind of obsolete. The shots that she's doing is grinding through the armor so fast that there's no armor left, even with her early on HMG's weaponry that she's having. So what do I like to package with her? I like to bring in an MBT with long barrel tank gun, plus an AGL. Or what also works really nicely is a medium walker with twin autogun or twin AM HMGs. Definitely carry as much extra ammo as needed. And then, as I said, roadkill is kind of like an optional tune in, tune out situation there if you want to have her as a ramming bok. Ramming bok? You know what I mean, the stuff that drives over things, or use the police to break open doors. What's the English term for that? Ich weiß nur Rambok dafür. Up next, and God bless him, is Gabriel Exconde. Probably I butchered that. He's basically my taxi driver. He's my Uber driver, my Uber for all of my units and all of the infantry tactics that I've mentioned earlier with mobile infantry of coming in and out of the vehicle. His specialty is sentry, +1 cover level provided by his vehicle, so if units are standing around him, they're getting a better cover bed, causing it to be an full cover instead of half cover. So the first things that I'm grabbing with him is Shepherd, of course, 10% accuracy for adjacent allies. I wonder how far the adjacency goes. Gain 10% accuracy for each adjacent allies infantry squad up to maximum of 40%. So the more sheeps are around it, the better the vehicle itself will shoot. After that, I'm grabbing Fedor, -4 AP movement costs when no medium or heavy weapons are equipped. So I'm normally having an MG on it, so all my movement costs are lowered, meaning I can drive off far distances. After Fedor, as a backup thing, I'm grabbing Hardwired. EMP hardware can still run at 50 AP. So even though I'm getting an EMP shot in, I can still at least maneuver with half of my range. Then, since my vehicle is definitely a frontline car to be deployed in my units, I wanted to have some scout on it so I can see where I'm driving and detect units around me. Then, since this is mainly a support vehicle, I'm definitely going to call out targets for my infantry that I deploy at the front line. So I'm kind of like using this as a mobile cover / call out targets institution, you could say. From there, we're moving over into Divine Intervention, prevents HP damage from the first attack each round. So once the armor is down, every time something is hitting our vehicle hard, could be an anti-tank shots, could be a barrel that hits it, could be a rocket. That is just nullified. Very powerful. God bless. And then with number 7, what I do like, since sometimes I'm also delivering a little bit of suppressive fire, I like Sharpshooter because I do like my MG to at least hit targets that are behind cover. So basically that's the tactic of him. I'm using him with an APC, sending him in there as a troop transporter. I want to get Fedor as fast as possible so I can maneuver very fast. I do have Shepherd already at the ready, so I'm getting the buff from adjacent enemies, adjacent allies over there, and then getting Divine Intervention as quick as possible so I can mitigate any heavy damage that is being delivered to my vehicle when it's up there in the front line with my infantry. So what do I recommend to bring with him is basically, as I said, a fast troop carrier, an APC with light weapons, and smoke and defensive accessories with him. That's basically it. Up next we have Garry Boganwright, our drinker, our drinking driver, and kind of like scrap parts vehicle driver. His specialty is jury-rigged, removes his vehicle's most severe defects. He can use 20 AP to remove the vehicle's most severe defects, or one random defect is afflicted by 2 or more of the equal severity. So he basically can repair his units very nicely with just the use of 20 AP. Comes in helpful if you get a nasty hit in, and you still want your vehicle to be somewhat operational, or at least turn its weak side away from the front of the enemy or whatever is shooting at it. Sometimes definitely helps and saves your ass. What you want with him very early is recycling parts. That's the first one, because the hardware cost is lowered by 30%, but also the HP of that hardware is lowered by 30%. So it comes with a little bit of a risk, but you can bring more to the battlefield early by making his chases and the hardware that he's bringing cheaper. After that, because I think he has a little bit of a bad accuracy, I do like to give him growth potential with new tricks, boosting his growth potential to a 5 from 2. After which I grab Tank Baster for 25 damage against armor and hardware. After that, I do like to grab Fragmentation, where enemy elements hit by AoE weapons get extra damage. I'm gonna come to that in a bit. After which I go to Overloads, where I get 50 AP on activation, but I'm stunned next turn. So I have to plan accordingly, because I am falling out for 1 turn, but I can definitely deliver up to 3 to 4 shots, depending on how my AP points are growing with the growth factor, that definitely comes in lucky sometimes. After Overload, we're gonna go Steady Gun, where accuracy is increased if I remain stationary, and we're gonna be quite very, very often with him stationary. And then last but not least, his Lucky Shot, where we get crit chance 100% in damage and armor penetration 50%. So how do I equip him? I use some, and mostly, heavy armor chases on him because it's cheaper with him, and that can easily then tolerate that minus 30 HP because it's giving me the armor that I need. Twin ATGMs with him are quite a nice option to go war. Long tank gun always works as well. Or that also works is an HMG plus a grenade launcher. Always pack extra ammo, and if you have 2 vehicles, keep him always behind your main tank. And then bring him out with the Lucky Shot, with the Overload, and targeted priority targets. He's gonna take them down with that crit chance and extra damage and armor penetration. Hellas, my friend Achilleas! That is one of my kind of favorite drivers because of the lines that he's dropping. Achilleas, what a crazy dude. He has Spartan Duty, where AP is increased as HP is decreased. The exact stats is 15 AP for 20% HP lost, 30 AP for 40% lost, 50 AP for 60% lost. So the lower his life is, the more action points he has, leading into multiple shots per turn if it becomes quite a hot zone or situation. So let's dig into the perks that I'm picking for him mostly. I'm starting with Expert Pilots, minus 50 AP for the vehicle turns and walker movements. Coming to that why. After that, I'm grabbing Dash, minus 4 AP movement cost per tile, briefly puts the walker off balance. As you can see, we're going already for walker. After the Dash, I'm grabbing a Lancer to get the 50% penetration when within 4 tiles. So I want to bring in my walker up close as personal, as close as possible. English, I swear to gods. After which we grab Shield Wall, 33% HP can, 33% HP cap on damage taken from enemy attacks. So no matter what happens, maximum damage that we can take is 33% damage. Cannot lose more than 30% hit points from a single attack. Exactly. That's what I wanted to say. After which we go at good drive-by. Since we are moving in with the walker to be up close, we definitely want drive-by to lower our cost for attacking after moving or dashing into there after moving. After which we grab Full Send. Minus 10% AP hardware or special weapon cost for consecutive usage. So we move it in there, minus 10%, minus 10 AP shots. Then full send happens because it's a consecutive shot. So we have again still the minus 10 AP, letting us most of the times lead to a second shot. So a lot of maneuverability there with high ammo penetration, leading to multiple shots. You following me? And then from full send, we're moving over to critical hits. Attacks have a 25% chance to inflict 50% more damage. So what do I send with Achilleas? When, of course, I do have the possibilities. That's a medium or heavy walker with close range, high penetration cannons, auto cannons, or HMGs, armor plating, and ammo. That's basically the package that I've sent him there. And then with the expert pilots, I can move my walker for less. I can dash in position. I can move myself within 4 tiles to get the Lancer perk. I can fire in there because I moved before, cheaper. And I can fire again because full send makes my attack cheaper again. So a lot of versatility in terms of maneuvering and in terms of positioning to bring in your tank in there, your walker in there, to kind of force the attention towards the walker and trigger the enemy into all kinds of situations with him, leading to quite an aggressive playstyle with Achilleas. Up next we have Ivory Isom. Ivory has her special perk being zeroing in. That means no matter from where she shoots, her minimum percentage to hit is 30%. No matter where she shoots. So let's break down how I'm skilling her. First up, I'm grabbing Tank Buster. I want that extra damage and armor penetration versus hardware. Followed up by Fragmentation, plus 20% enemy elements hit by AoE weapons. Always handful when I'm shooting at infantry targets. Then I want call-out targets. Mark an enemy target within 10 tiles to get 20% accuracy on top. Call-out targets is so powerful. You want it in as many possible units as possible to have. English, hearts. Followed up by directed fire, 20% accuracy and damage versus marked targets. So basically, you can call out targets yourself to get the direct fire ability on top if you don't have anybody to call out targets for you with her, or if she's in a situation where she's standing alone or being behind or something like that. Leading to barrage, AP cost for heavy weapons is lowered by 50%. Leading that big mortars and stuff like that might be something for her. After barrage, we're getting for full sense, meaning that if she's stationary and she's shooting that, the cost of continuing shooting is lowered as well, giving us the chance to at least shoot out maybe 2 shots out, because normally you have enough AP for just 1 shot with a heavy mortar. And then, of course, steady gun. Since they're stationary, the accuracy is increased, the view range is a little bit increased, you cannot get flanked as easily, so kind of a full complete package circled there. So what do I like to give Ivory with her and equip on her? Can be long barrel tank gun, can be ATGMs, can be heavy howitzer, especially with barrage comes a heavy howitzer very strongly, or any other heavy weapon. Target designator support, extra ammo, twin heavy setup is also possible, and basically she is reliant on targeting support to trigger that extra accuracy and damage of her ability directed fire, leading to very heavy hits with howitzer or long range barrels. Coming to our last squad lead and pilot, Roisin Murdock with buyout. Bribe civilians or even some lowly enemy combatants to fight for you. Once permission, it says, within 8 tiles, Murdock can bribe a civilian, scavenger, outcast, or conscript to fight for you. After use, gain a free squaddy to your manpower pool. So it's basically turning the guns of the enemy against them. Very helpful, especially early on when you don't have a lot of manpower to deploy and are a little bit limited with your resources. So here is one option of how to use her on the battlefield. First up, I'm grabbing Insurance, because complete at least 1 secondary objective for free. What does that mean? If you have an unfinished or failed secondary objective, Murder will automatically complete it at the mission end, meaning you can designate it, ignore specific secondary objects, and still complete it thanks to her Insurance, leading into more resources and more points towards you. After that, I'm getting the zum Beispiel Lizenz agreements. For 40 AP, disable any kind of technical unit for 1 turn. That is very, very powerful, especially later on against menace units, where you can just click that and trigger it. Once per mission, spend 40 AP to disable any kind of technical unit for 1 turn. Can come very, very helpful in a situation where that unit would probably shred through infantry because you got caught off guard, or one of those bombers is flying in, or something like that. Can't save your ass. After which, I'm grabbing Drive-By because I always like to have the possibility of repositioning and firing cheaper. After which, I'm grabbing Short Squeeze, 50% damage against enemies flanked by Murdock or an ally, coming into fruition with Drive-By. So, you know, flanking the enemy, shooting in there, do the extra damage. After which, I'm grabbing Take Aim, toggled, plus 50% accuracy, but subsequent attacks cost me plus 40 AP. Most of the time, I'm just firing 1 shot into the flank, triggering by Short Squeeze for the extra 50% damage, leading into that being toggled on with an extra 50% accuracy, just nailing down my target with whatever weaponry I'm equipping. After which, I'm getting Overtime, get a free follow-up attack against low health targets if I need to either finish off a wavering unit or, you know, need to bring in another salvo on that target. Let's quickly click on it to be precisely what it does. Once per attack, if Murdock reduces an enemy HP to at least 20%, she will instantly attack the same target again for free. Does not apply to run over attacks. There we go. So if she's running somebody over, that will not be triggered. But if she's shooting somebody, she automatically shoots again if the HP has been reduced for at least by 20%. Very powerful. And then last but not least, of course, sharpshooter, so you can shoot at targets within cover with a higher accuracy at them, leading into nice flanking situation with good damage and basically then ignoring parts of the cover, leading to quite effectively taking out units who are hunkering behind some sort of low cover. What I recommend with her is definitely twin guns, where you can shoot over a wider range of area, especially if you trigger that together with overtime, leading into a follow-up shot again with that you normally would not have. So what I would send her with is fast flanking vehicles with twin HMGs, lighter weaponry, AGLs to exploit overtime, or accurate tank gun is the... well, if you have an accurate tank gun, then the take aim is an alternative thing to have a look at or not. And always extra ammo. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I conclude this squad leads breakdown. I hope it is helpful for you. I hope it helps you understand some of the synergies that are at play. Of course, there are plenty ways of playing and laying out your units. I would be intrigued to hear and see what kind of strategies you used for specific squad leads. If any of my ideas have inspired you to try out something different. And if you grabbed something out of this and it helped you, definitely leave it a thumbs up, a comment down below, share it with your fellow MENACE friends. And I can't wait to hear your stories, to have you maybe in our next MENACE Let's Play on the Uncut channel, and be part of our journey and be part of one of our squaddies. As a quick reminder, channel members have access to my full fact sheets over here that I'm put together with all the information of weapons, perks, hierarchy, you name it. So thanks a lot for the support, thanks a lot for being here. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.